Now, we move on to question 2. In question 2, we have a ship that's being pulled by two boats, and the boat exerts forces of F1 and F2 on the ship. So we are asked which vector diagram shows the resultant force acting on the ship. Now, let's recall, for a vector diagram, if let's say we have this force F1 and we have another force F2 acting this way, we are supposed to shift around the arrows of F1 and F2 so that the head of one of the arrows joins up to the tail of the other. So now, let's shift the F2 arrow. So if we shift the F2 arrow, F2, the shifted F2 will be over here. So note that I've deliberately put the tail of F2 against the head of F1. And now, if we wish to find the resultant force acting on the ship, we just follow the path made by both F1 and F2. If I started from here, and then I walk to here, and then I walk to here, we will end up here. So this is going to be our resultant force. So it points roughly towards the right. Now, what about the angles? The question told us that this angle between F1 and F2, or the unshifted F2, is at an angle of 60 degrees. Now, if you realize that because I've shifted F2 to this position, I have a pair of parallel sides, F2 over here and F2 over here. So this would mean that this angle over here, recalling from our math, we have interior angles inside a parallelogram make up 180 degrees. So this angle over here is 180 minus 60, which is 120 degrees. So as such, if we observe this top triangle over here, this completes our vector triangle. Now similarly, instead of shifting F2, I can also opt to shift F1. Now if I've decided to shift F1 instead, I will get this, where once again I have a parallelogram, and this angle over here is going to be 120 degrees because of, again, interior angles in a parallelogram. So if we examine our options, the only one that gives us a resultant force pointing towards the right, and with all the heads and tails of both F1 and F2 correctly lined up, is going to be option D. You can see F2 points downwards this way, comparing over here, and F1 points upwards this way here, with an angle of 120 degrees between them.